The alien queen was confronting death when a human fighter gave everything. Best HFY stories, the stars were spread wide across the black sky like silver dust thrown over a dark cloth. Far beyond the bustling trade routes and busy colonies of the inner systems, the outer frontier stretched endlessly. It was a lonely place, a place where only the brave or the reckless traveled, and Jack's six-gun Reyes was a little of both. Jax's small freighter, the Dust Runner, hummed quietly as it cut through the empty reaches of space. Its engines glowed a soft blue, leaving a faint trail behind like the tail of a comet. Inside, Jax leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning the monitors. Space lanes were usually quiet out here, but every pilot knew quiet didn't mean safe. Space had a way of hiding trouble where you least expected it. Jax was a human who had always preferred a simple life, fast ships, long trails, and the freedom of the stars. He wasn't rich, but he had skills, and in this part of the galaxy, skills were more valuable than credits. He could fix almost anything, pilot through storms, or talk his way out of trouble. And today, those skills were about to be tested in ways he couldn't imagine. The alert beeped. A red warning flashed on the screen. Jax frowned. The signal came from a ship drifting on the edge of a nearby asteroid belt. He zoomed in the scanner. The ship was huge, shaped like nothing he had ever seen. Its hull shimmered with colors that seemed alive, moving in patterns like liquid glass. "Now, that's not something you see every day," Jax muttered, scratching his jaw. He had been in space long enough to know that a ship like this was either extremely valuable or extremely dangerous. He hesitated. His gut told him to turn away and leave it for the larger patrol ships. But something about the signal, it was weak, almost desperate. It called for help. And Jax, for all his carefreeness, had a streak of stubbornness. He didn't turn away from someone who needed him. The freighter hummed as Jax adjusted course, moving toward the drifting ship. As he approached, the scale of it became clear. It was massive, far larger than anything human engineers had built. Its surface pulsed gently, like a living organism. Small lights blinked across the hull, but there were no signs of movement inside, no smoke, no engines, just silence. Docking was tricky. The ship's outer hull wasn't built for standard human docking clamps, so Jax improvised. He pulled out a set of magnetic grapplers and fired them onto the smooth surface. The magnets held tight, and the freighter shuddered gently as it attached. "All right, let's see what we've got here," Jax said to himself, switching on his comm headset. He opened the airlock and stepped inside. The interior was breathtaking. The walls glowed with soft, shifting light, and strange patterns moved like living vines across the floor. The air smelled faintly metallic, but not unpleasant. It was quiet. Too quiet. The alien queen lay in the center of the main chamber. She was enormous, her body covered in smooth, iridescent armor-like skin that shimmered in blues, purples, and greens. Her eyes were wide and luminous, almost too large to be comfortable for a human to look at. Despite her size and appearance, she looked fragile. Jax froze for a moment. Humans had legends about the alien queen. She was the ruler of a vast hive civilization, feared across systems for her intelligence and power. And here she was, lying motionless, her massive form trembling slightly. He swallowed hard. "Okay, this is not normal," he muttered. A soft, melodic hum filled the room. The queen stirred slightly, lifting her head, her eyes fixed on him. And even though she did not speak, he felt her mind reaching out, probing gently, carefully. "You're alive," Jax said, stepping closer. "But what happened?" The hum grew, almost like a sigh. Jax realized then that she wasn't injured by weapons or battle. Something else was wrong. Her body, her movements, it was as if something inside her was failing. "Is it the virus?" he whispered. The stories he had heard as a boy in the colonies were chilling. A mysterious cosmic virus had started spreading across the frontier. Entire colonies had fallen into silence. Ships went dark, entire populations vanished. And the stories said the virus could affect any species. The Queen's hum seemed to confirm it. Jax glanced at the ship's systems. The readings were erratic. Energy levels fluctuated wildly. She wasn't dying quickly, but slowly, painfully, as though the virus was rewriting her internal systems. Jax took a deep breath. He had no medical training for alien life. But he had engineering skills, and sometimes in space, that was enough. He moved to her side and examined the life support nodes embedded in the floor. He connected his portable diagnostic scanner and ran a quick analysis. The Queen's energy networks were failing. If he didn't do something, she wouldn't survive long enough to reach the nearest safe station or anywhere at all. Okay, girl, let's see if we can keep you breathing, Jack said, more to steady his own nerves than anything else. He worked quickly, improvising tools from his ship's repair kit, wires, energy stabilizers, even a few magnetic conduits. He connected them carefully, following the flow of the Queen's bioenergy as best he could. Minutes passed. Hours, maybe. Time felt strange aboard the drifting ship. Jax didn't notice the cold or the hunger. He only focused on the pulsing lights of the Queen's body, the way they flickered like a heartbeat. Finally, the hum softened. The Queen stirred more strongly. Her eyes blinked slowly, and she projected a thought directly into Jax's mind. You, help stranger, why? Jax swallowed. I don't know, he said aloud, smiling awkwardly. Maybe because no one should just die out here alone. For a moment there was silence. Then the Queen's aura glowed brighter. He felt a rush of something like relief and gratitude. Danger still comes. You must travel with me. Jax frowned. Travel where? I don't even know where this ship is heading. To survive, energy of dying star, only hope. A shiver ran down his spine. A dying star? The journey would be dangerous, extreme radiation, gravitational storms, maybe even other predators lurking in the void. But Jax had never been one to back down from a challenge. He straightened. All right, Queen. You've got yourself a pilot. Let's see if we can make it together. She hummed, and it sounded almost like a purr. For the first time, she moved under her own power, rising with a grace that belied her massive form. Her ship, too, seemed to respond to her presence. Lights brightened, energy flows stabilized. Jax realized that she was not only alive, she was powerful. But that power needed guidance. The freighter and the alien ship moved side by side in the darkness of the frontier. Jax looked out at the endless stars and felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. The frontier had always been full of unknowns, but he had never imagined riding beside an alien queen who was facing death, relying on a human like him. Guess we're partners now, he said quietly, almost to himself. Let's not die before breakfast. The Queen's hum responded like a gentle laugh, and for the first time in many cycles, Jax felt that he might actually survive the frontier's greatest challenge yet, not alone, but together with someone who was as different from him as the sun was from the moon. The journey had begun, and the frontier of stars waited, vast and endless. The stars stretched endlessly around them, but space was far from quiet. Streams of energy, like lightning, in slow motion arced across the void. The freighter Dust Runner creaked under the strain of the alien ship's gravitational pulse shields. Jax Sixgun Reyes gripped the controls tightly, sweat beading on his forehead. He had piloted through asteroid storms and cosmic tempests before, but this was something different. Beside him, the alien queen hovered in her massive chamber, her luminescent skin glowing softly. She didn't need to speak aloud. Her thoughts, transmitted through subtle waves, resonated in Jax's mind. Storm ahead, dangerous. You must be ready. Jax nodded, even though he knew she couldn't see it. Ready as I'll ever be, he muttered. His fingers flew over the console, adjusting energy flows and recalibrating shields. The Queen's ship responded to his input almost as if it trusted him, moving with grace despite its size. The storm wasn't just energy. It was a cluster of magnetic waves, drifting nanoclouds, and fragments from broken satellites, all spinning in chaotic patterns. If the Queen's ship's shields failed, even for a second, it could throw them off course, or worse. Jax had to think fast. All right, let's do this like a dance, he said to himself. One wrong step, we spin into the void. He guided the Dust Runner closer to the Queen's ship. She leaned her massive body slightly, a signal of alignment. Jax mimicked the motion, timing the freighter's movements with hers. Together, they became a single agile entity weaving through the cosmic storm. Time blurred. Hours felt like minutes. Stars flashed past like streaks of silver light. Jax adjusted the shields constantly, rerouting energy from the engines to stabilize the hull. The Queen hummed softly beside him, a sound that vibrated through his chest and helped him focus. Then a warning beeped on his console, small, sharp, almost like a whisper. Another obstacle? Jax asked. Yes. Drifting predator. Follow. Jax frowned, his stomach twisted. He had hoped the storm was the biggest challenge, but space, it seemed, had more surprises. Ahead of them floated a massive creature, or at least what looked like one. It was as big as a small moon, with tendrils of energy flowing like ribbons. Its body shimmered in colors that matched the Queen's own, but darker, more chaotic. Jax's mind raced. Okay, it's big, but it doesn't look mean. Maybe it's Curious? The Queen's presence reassured him. It senses weakness, not attack. Move carefully. Jax guided the ship slowly. The creature followed, its tendrils weaving through the storm like dancers. Each movement required careful calculation, or their shields could be damaged. Jax realized then that this was not a fight. It was a test of coordination, skill, and patience. Hours passed. The creature mirrored the Queen's ship's movements. It was almost playful, yet incredibly powerful. Jax marveled at its size and grace. He felt a connection forming, not only with the Queen, but with the mysteries of the frontier itself. Space was alive in ways he had never imagined. The Queen finally spoke in her mind. Energy pulse. Ahead. You must pilot through carefully. One mistake, and failure. Jax nodded. I'm listening. Guide me. Together they moved toward a glowing point in space. The energy pulse from the dying star shimmered in soft gold and silver, radiating warmth even across millions of miles. But the closer they came, the more unstable it became. Waves of energy rolled outward unpredictably, like the surface of a stormy sea. Jax's hands were steady, but his heart raced. He had never flown a ship through anything like this. One wrong move and the pulse could collapse, sending shock waves that could throw them far off course. Or worse, damage the Queen's systems beyond repair. Steady, steady, he muttered, feeling the hum of the Queen's ship resonate through the freighter. It was almost like riding a wild, gentle beast across a river of stars. Then a sudden surge of energy hit. The freighter shook violently, throwing Jax against the console. His vision blurred, and his stomach lurched. He pressed buttons furiously, rerouting energy from the shields to the engines. The Queen's hum grew louder, steadying him, reminding him that they were working together. Minutes later, the storm passed, leaving them floating in calm space. The pulse of the dying star shimmered ahead, radiant and almost mesmerizing. Jax let out a long breath. The Queen hovered silently for a moment, then her thoughts reached him, soft but filled with meaning. You are human, remarkable. Jax chuckled nervously. I just do what I can. You're the one doing all the heavy lifting. Know your courage, your quick mind, it matters. Jax felt a strange warmth at the words. Humans often thought themselves small in the universe, but here, in the frontier, he realized that even the smallest being could change the course of things far larger than themselves. They approached the energy pulse carefully. It was beautiful. Waves of golden light swirled like ribbons, and sparks of silver danced across the edges. Jax felt the pull of its energy like a gentle tug on his chest. He guided the ships closer, keeping shields active and engines balanced. Then came the real challenge. The pulse was unstable. It wasn't just radiating energy. It was fluctuating, twisting, threatening to collapse into a chaotic burst. One miscalculation could throw it into the void. Jax had to act fast. Queen, I need your help, he said. I can stabilize the ship, but I can't control the pulse itself. The Queen extended a tendril of bioluminescent energy toward him, wrapping around the ship's controls in a way he could feel through the hull. It wasn't just physical. He could sense her thought guiding him, showing him the patterns, the rhythm of the energy. It was like learning a strange new language in the middle of a dance. The two of them moved in perfect coordination, human and alien, navigating through the waves of the star's dying energy. The freighter hummed in sync with the Queen's ship, every system working together. Time stretched, stars blurred into streaks, and then a sudden spike of power. The pulse threatened to explode, waves rolling outward in uncontrolled arcs. Jax's fingers flew over the controls, rerouting energy, adjusting shields, following the Queen's guidance. He felt sweat dripping down his face, his muscles aching, but he didn't stop. Finally, with one last careful adjustment, the energy pulse stabilized. It shimmered brilliantly, golden and calm, radiating warmth without chaos. Jax slumped back in his chair, breathing hard. He had done it. They had done it. The Queen's hum was soft, gentle, almost like a sigh of relief. She hovered closer, and Jax could feel her gratitude not just in thought, but in the vibrations of the ship itself. You gave everything. You are remarkable. Jax smiled, exhausted but proud. I just did what I had to. You're the one who's incredible. Without you guiding me, I'd be floating in space by now. Together, human. Together, we survive. He had never felt more connected to another being. Not just another human, not just another species, but someone entirely different from him. And yet, somehow, Their partnership worked. The freighter and the Queen's ship floated side by side in the calm glow of the dying star. Jax knew the journey wasn't over. They still had to harness the energy to save the Queen, and the journey back would be just as dangerous. But for now, they had survived the storm, and the bond between them had grown stronger. He leaned back in his chair, looking out at the golden light of the pulse. "We make a good team, Queen," he said softly. "Maybe we're not so different after all." The Queen's hum replied, almost like a gentle laugh, and for the first time in what felt like cycles, Jax felt a sense of hope. Hope that they could face whatever the frontier threw at them, together. The cosmic storm was behind them, but the frontier of stars still stretched endlessly ahead, full of mystery, danger, and wonder. And Jax knew one thing for sure. With courage, ingenuity, and trust, even the impossible could be faced. The glow of the dying star stretched across the void, bathing the freighter and the Queen's massive ship in a warm golden light. But there was no time to relax. The energy pulse was powerful, yes, but unstable. If it was not carefully harnessed, it could collapse, endangering the Queen's life, and perhaps the fragile balance of the surrounding star systems. Jax Sixgun Reyes wiped his brow and leaned over the controls. The freighter's hull vibrated gently as the Queen's ship responded to the star's energy waves. Even though the storm had passed, space was far from calm. Cosmic radiation ripples moved unpredictably, and stray magnetic currents hummed like invisible strings, tugging at the ship's shields. "All right, Queen," Jax said, his voice steady despite the tension. "We've got the energy pulse in reach. Now how do we make sure it doesn't go haywire? You must follow my guidance. Precisely, focus, feel the rhythm." The Queen's thoughts flowed into him, gentle but insistent. Jax closed his eyes for a moment, letting her presence guide him. He could almost sense the patterns of the energy pulse, like waves moving in a cosmic ocean. The two ships moved together like dancers, careful and precise. The freighter's small size allowed Jax to maneuver in ways the Queen's massive ship could not. He threaded between golden currents, letting the Queen's guidance and the rhythm of the energy pulse determine each movement. Then a warning beeped on the console. Jax frowned. The energy reading spiked suddenly. Something was interfering. An unexpected flux in the pulse. It twisted, sending waves of golden light in jagged, unpredictable patterns. "Not good," Jax muttered, adjusting the shields. "It's unstable. Something's affecting the pulse. The dying star, energy unstable. You must act quickly," the Queen transmitted. Jax's mind raced. The pulse had to be carefully harnessed and redirected into her biosystems to cleanse the virus. He had an idea, but it was risky. The freighter would have to move directly into the core of the pulse to guide the energy flow. Any miscalculation could send the waves bouncing uncontrollably. He took a deep breath. All right, here goes nothing. He pushed the freighter forward, into the heart of the golden light. The ship vibrated violently as energy waves washed over it, tugging at the hull. Jax's hands flew over the controls, rerouting shields and engines to balance the pull. The glow was dazzling, almost blinding, but he focused on the rhythm, matching each movement with the Queen's guidance. Steady now. The Queen's thoughts flowed into him, steady and calm. Jax felt her energy merge with his, guiding him through the pulse like a hand on his shoulder. Time stretched. Every second was crucial. The energy waves twisted, curled, and surged, threatening to push the freighter off course. Jax adjusted constantly, relying on instinct and the Queen's guidance. The pulse was alive, almost like a living being, testing him, challenging him. He glanced at the Queen. Her massive form was still, but her glow pulsed brighter with each wave of energy they channeled. Her presence gave him courage. He realized that the Queen was not just guiding him, she trusted him, and that trust gave him a strength he had never known. Then came the real challenge. A sudden surge of golden light shot toward the freighter, spinning in chaotic patterns. Jax's stomach lurched. He had to act instantly. With a quick adjustment, he redirected the shields to absorb the surge and guided the energy into the Queen's core conduits. The freighter shuddered, and for a moment, Jax thought they had failed. But then the pulse began to stabilize. Waves of energy flowed smoothly, golden and calm, following the rhythm he and the Queen had set. The hum of the Queen's ship resonated through the freighter like a song of relief and gratitude. "You have done remarkable," the Queen said. "You saved me, human." Jax grinned, exhaustion and pride mixing together. "We saved each other," he said. "I didn't do it alone." For a moment they floated in silence, letting the energy pulse wash over them. Jax watched the golden light ripple across the void, feeling a strange sense of peace. He realized that space, despite its dangers, was also full of wonder. The frontier was vast, full of challenges and mysteries, but it was also beautiful in ways he had never imagined. Then the Queen spoke again, her voice calm but serious.
A virus weakened, but not gone.
You must continue to guide me until fully healed. Jax nodded. I'm with you, all the way. The next few hours passed in careful coordination. Jax and the Queen moved through the energy pulse, absorbing and redirecting its power. Each wave of energy strengthened her systems, cleansing the virus slowly but steadily. Jax marveled at her resilience. Even as she faced a disease that could have ended her life, she remained calm, focused, and dignified. Your courage, your determination, human, inspires me, the Queen said at one point. Jax chuckled softly. I'm just trying to keep up with you, he said. But inside he felt a warmth spread through him. Humans were small in the grand universe, but moments like this reminded him that even small beings could make a huge difference. Hours passed. The energy pulse began to stabilize completely, glowing brightly but steadily. The Queen's systems hummed with life once more. The virus, though not completely gone, was weakened to the point where she could heal fully with rest. Jax leaned back in his chair, exhausted but relieved. Looks like we did it, he said softly. The Queen's glow softened, a sign of relaxation. Thanks to you, human, I may yet survive and lead my people. Jax smiled, feeling a strange sense of pride. He had never imagined that a human like him could play a role in saving an alien queen. Yet here he was, proof that courage, quick thinking, and trust could overcome even the most impossible challenges. Then came a new problem. The Queen's ship, massive and delicate, needed repairs after channeling the energy pulse. Though she had survived the virus for now, her biosystems were strained, and the ship's navigation systems had been pushed to their limits. Jax rolled up his sleeves. Looks like I've got work to do, he muttered. He floated through the corridors of the Queen's ship, checking energy conduits, rerouting power, and repairing minor system failures. It was tedious work, but necessary. And the Queen's presence, glowing softly in the chamber, reminded him that every effort mattered. As he worked, he noticed something remarkable. The Queen's ship seemed to respond to human touch. Small adjustments he made not only repaired the systems, but enhanced the flow of energy, making the ship more stable. It was as if the ship itself recognized his efforts and accepted his guidance. By the time he finished, the ship was humming smoothly, the energy pulse fully integrated, and the Queen's biosystem stabilized. He returned to the bridge, where she floated gracefully, glowing brighter than before. You are more remarkable than I imagined, she said. Jax shrugged, smiling. Just a human doing what humans do best. Think, adapt, and never give up. The Queen's hum was soft and warm, like a gentle wave washing over him. Together we survive. Together we thrive. Jax looked out at the dying star, golden light reflecting across the void. The frontier of stars stretched endlessly, full of mystery, danger, and wonder. And for the first time he realized that the universe was not just a place to survive, it was a place to explore, to learn, and to connect. The long ride to the light was far from over. They still had a journey ahead, back to the colonies, back to safety, and perhaps back into the unknown. But for now, they had survived the storm, mastered the energy pulse, and strengthened a bond that spanned species and worlds. Jax leaned back in his chair, letting the golden light wash over him. We did it, Queen. One step closer to home, and one step closer to whatever comes next. The Queen's glow pulsed softly, like a heartbeat in the void. And for the first time, Jax felt certain of one thing. With courage, ingenuity, and trust, even the greatest challenges of the frontier could be faced, and humans, no matter how small, could make a difference among the stars. The cosmic frontier awaited, endless and full of adventure. And Jax knew that he and the alien Queen, though from worlds apart, would face it together, side by side, through the storms and the stars. The dying star cast its warm golden glow across the void, bathing the alien Queen's ship and Jax's freighter in soft light. After the long, tense hours of navigating storms and harnessing the energy pulse, the moment had finally come. The Queen's systems were stable, and the virus that had threatened her life had been weakened almost to nothing. But one final step remained, fully integrating the energy pulse into her biosystems to ensure complete recovery. Jax adjusted the freighter's docking alignment, floating alongside the Queen's massive ship. The corridors inside her vessel shimmered with soft luminescence, and Jax could feel the pulse of her life force resonating through the hall. It was mesmerizing and humbling. Final stage, you must guide the energy. Perfectly, one mistake could undo all. The Queen's thoughts flowed into him, calm but urgent. Jax took a deep breath. All right, Queen. Let's finish this together. He moved to the main chamber where the energy conduits ran like rivers of light across the floor. The pulse of the dying star had been stabilized, but channeling it into the Queen's systems required delicate timing and precision. Jax floated in zero gravity, tools and wires in hand, following the Queen's guidance. Focus, rhythm, flow, follow me, she transmitted. Jax concentrated, feeling the subtle vibrations of her systems through the hole. It was as if the Queen's very essence was guiding him, showing him how to direct the energy safely. With careful adjustments, he connected the conduits to the pulse, stabilizing the flow and redirecting excess energy to protective buffers. Minutes passed, stretching like hours. The energy pulse swirled around them, golden waves rolling like calm tides, while the Queen's systems slowly absorbed the life-giving power. Jax's muscles ached, and sweat trickled down his face, but he didn't stop. Every movement, every adjustment mattered. Finally, a soft hum filled the chamber. The energy pulse had been fully integrated. The Queen's glow brightened, stronger and steadier than it had been in cycles. The virus, once a looming threat, had been cleansed from her systems. She hovered gracefully, her massive form pulsing with vitality. You, human, gave everything, the Queen said, her voice calm and reverent in his mind. Without your courage, your determination, I would not have survived. Jack smiled, exhaustion mixing with relief. We did it together. You trusted me, Queen, and I trusted you. Together, we thrive, she replied. The hum of her systems vibrated through the freighter like a heartbeat. For a moment they floated in silence, letting the golden light wash over them. Jax gazed out at the void, marveling at the beauty of the frontier. Stars glittered like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Nebulae glowed faintly in distant corners, and small asteroids drifted lazily by. In the midst of all this, a human and an alien queen had faced impossible odds, and succeeded. Then Jax realized something. The Queen had been weakened not only by the virus, but by isolation. Her people, scattered across the galaxy, had relied on her guidance. Now, fully healed, she could return to them, but she had no human allies to understand her perspective or connect the worlds. Queen, what now? Jax asked. Are you going back to your people? Yes. But you have changed me, human. I must honor your efforts. Your species, your courage, she replied. Jax tilted his head, curious. Honor me? How? I offer alliance, knowledge, access to technologies beyond human reach, guidance for your colonies, if you wish. Jax thought for a moment. He had always been a wanderer, a pilot who traveled where the stars led him. But this was more than adventure. This was an opportunity for humanity to connect with a civilization that had existed far longer than any human colony. I accept, Jax said finally, smiling. Not for me, but for the people back home. They deserve a chance to learn and to grow. The Queen's glow pulsed brighter, almost like a nod of approval. Then together we shaped the future. They spent the next hours preparing for departure. Jax guided the freighter as the Queen's massive ship rose from its stationary drift, engines humming smoothly. She now moved with elegance, powered and guided by the energy pulse. Jax felt the thrill of being part of something larger than himself, the first human to navigate alongside the Queen fully restored. As they left the dying star behind, the frontier stretched out before them. Stars, planets, and asteroid fields moved in silent harmony. Jax felt a strange sense of calm. The journey had been long and dangerous, but the bond he had formed with the Queen was unshakable. They had faced cosmic storms, guided a life-saving energy pulse, and survived challenges that could have ended them both. Then the Queen spoke again. Human, you have proven potential. Your kind is remarkable. Jax laughed softly. I think we both proved something. You survived a virus no one else could. I just didn't let panic get in the way. Your courage, quick mind, your spirit, these are gifts rare in the universe, she said. They traveled in silence for a time, each lost in thought. Jax considered the frontier he had always known. Dangerous, lonely, unpredictable. But now it seemed different. It was no longer just a place of survival. It was a place of opportunity, learning, and connection. And with allies like the Queen, humans could explore it with confidence. After a while, the Queen turned her ship toward a distant cluster of colonies. Jax's freighter followed closely, ready to assist. It was not just a return trip. It was a beginning. Humanity would meet an alien civilization, learn from them, and share knowledge in ways that could shape the future. And he, a simple pilot, had played a role in this momentous journey. As they neared the colonies, Jax's mind drifted to the people waiting for news. Traders, settlers, engineers, all had faced hardship in the frontier. Soon, they would hear tales of the human who had helped save an alien queen, of courage, trust, and ingenuity. And those tales would inspire others to explore, to learn, and to face challenges without fear. Human, one final task, the queen's thoughts came gently. You will always be welcome in our civilization, but your people must be prepared to meet the future together. Jax nodded. Then let's make sure they are. The final leg of the journey was smooth compared to what they had faced. The queen's ship, fully restored, moved with grace. The freighter, small but nimble, followed her closely. Stars streaked by, distant suns twinkling like beacons of hope. Jax felt a deep satisfaction, a sense that his efforts had mattered in ways far beyond his imagination. Finally, they arrived at the first colony. Human engineers and traders looked up in awe as the massive queen ship entered the system, golden light reflecting across its hull. Communications channels opened and Jax relayed instructions to ensure a smooth arrival. The queen's presence was overwhelming, but calm. She had survived, healed, and now stood ready to reconnect with her people. Jax watched from the freighter's bridge as the colony welcomed the queen. Children and adults alike stared in amazement, marveling at her form and the shimmering light that seemed to radiate from her. And somewhere in the collective awe, Jax felt a quiet pride. Humanity had proven itself in the stars, not through war or conquest, but through courage, ingenuity, and trust. The queen finally spoke aloud, her voice gentle but powerful. People of the frontier, we are united by courage, by trust, by the spirit of survival, and together we will explore the stars. Applause, cheers, and awe-filled silence followed. And Jax, standing at the freighter's controls, felt a strange sense of peace. The frontier of stars was still vast, still dangerous, but humanity had made its mark. And he, a simple pilot, had been part of that story. As the sun of the colony rose, golden light reflecting off the horizon in the queen's ship, Jax smiled. The long journey had ended, but the adventures ahead were endless. The frontier waited, full of mysteries, wonders, and challenges. And humans, small but determined, had shown that they could rise to meet them. We made it, Queen, he said softly, one step at a time. Together. The queen's glow pulsed warmly. Together, always. And so, in the quiet brilliance of the frontier, dust settled among the stars, and a new chapter began, not just for Jax or the queen, but for all who dared to dream among the endless skies.